Hello everyone, how is it going? In this video, we are going to cover the while loop and the for loop in Python. Loops are an important component of every programming language. They allow us to loop through a certain piece of code multiple times. Take for example this guessing game that I'm showing here. The program generates a random number between 1 and 10 and it asks the user to guess what it generated. We want the user to keep trying until they get the guess correct. If the program was to end just after one guess, that would be a terrible game. So we want to offer the user a chance to keep guessing until they get it correct. To achieve that, we use the while loop. Let me show you how this game works. We're going to go through the specifics of the game after we look at the syntax of the while loop. Let's see the example for now. So I've typed here Python and I'm running this program. I saved it in the while loop.py. So let me run this. So it asked me to guess a number between 1 and 10. Let me enter 5. So it tells me that 5 is incorrect. I should try again. So I'll pick another number. Let me pick 2. Tells me that 2 is incorrect. I should try again. How about 1? And 1 is incorrect. And I can have fun trying out different numbers until I get it correct. So 4 was the right guess. Now that I've guessed correctly, the game has even ended. I had a bit of fun there trying until I got it correct. Let's look at the actual syntax of the while loop. So we have while, and here we have a value that can be evaluated into a Boolean value, and we have a full colon. So until here the syntax is similar to the if statement, only that where we had if, we've put while. So we covered the if statement in lesson 7. I'll put a link to that video. And then in the next line, just like the if statement, we have to indent the code and we put the statements that we want to run if this value is true. So this value can be any truthy or falsy value that we looked at in the previous video. Look at the description for that link. Similar to the if statement, this value is any value that can be evaluated into a Boolean value, or it can be a Boolean expression. So what really happens is that first, when the program is running, starting from above, when it encounters the while loop, it will check whether this value is true. If that is true, then this line of code will be run. And then it will come back and check here. So it won't proceed down. Once it runs, the first time it checks the value, and then it runs this statement. It will come back here to check the value again, and then it will run the statement again. So this is different from what we saw with the if statement. The if statement just checks whether that value is true, and it runs once and proceeds down. But with a while loop, it will keep checking this value. Whenever it reaches the end of the while loop, it will come back to check whether this value is true or false. So if you put this value to be always true, then you create an infinite loop. It will keep running and it will never end. Let's now look at the code to see what happens. So in our code, we have a random number here. We generate this random integer using randint, which is found in the random module. And in the next line, we have while true. So this creates an infinite loop because this is always true. So when the program is running, it will create this random number, come here and check and finds that that's true. Therefore, it goes to the next line where it asks the user to enter a number between 1 and 10. Then it comes to this if statement that we covered in the previous lesson. And here it checks whether the guess that someone entered is the same as the random integer. If so, it will print that your guess is correct. And remember what I mentioned about the infinite loop, that it will keep running as long as that's true. So here we want to stop the running once the user is correct. So for that we use the break statement. The break statement is always useful when we want to stop the loop. At any point we can issue the break statement and this will stop the loop. So when it encounters the break statement, it will exit the whole loop and it won't even check the else statement. It will just stop and continue here, but we don't have anything here. So we could add another statement here, maybe to just say end, to signify that the game has ended. So once this is done, once it hits the break statement, it will go to this line and print the end. However, if the guess is not correct, it will print this line, it will print the guess and print this line. And it will go back here, it won't run this statement, it will go back to the top and check here. But this is always true, so there's nothing much to do, but it will keep checking. So ideally, you want something that will end up being false. So let's try this again. So Python while loop. And the first, I'll enter 1. And it says that the guess was incorrect. I'll enter 2 and it says it was incorrect. Let me try 3. It says it was incorrect. Let me try 4. Incorrect. Let me try 5. That was incorrect. 6. Incorrect. 7. Oh, 7 is correct. Oh, that 7 is incorrect. 8. And 8 is incorrect. 9. And 9 was correct. So in the end, it prints end. Let's see another pattern of the while loop. Here I'm going to enter IPython. And let's say we want to print numbers. So let me have num equal to 5. And I'll just say, well, num is greater than 0. Print num. And then we'll reduce this number because we want this to eventually be, and we'll decrement this one because we want the loop to finally end, because if we don't reduce the number, it won't end. So let me print that. So you see that it starts on 5 and it was counting down up until 1. So the first time it runs, it finds that 5 is greater than 0. And this is true, therefore it runs that. And then it comes to the next line where it subtracts 1 from num. So now num becomes 4 and it's given the same name 4. So this is like updating what num was. So when it's 4, we give it the same name num. And it comes here to check, is the num 4 greater than 0? It finds yes, therefore it prints this number 4, which is here. And here it reduces 4 by 1, this minus 1, and gives it the same name num. So now num is 3, and it comes here, checks is 3 greater than 0, which is true, and it prints that. And then it reduces num 3 minus 1, which is 2. It gives the same name num to 2, and it checks is 2 greater than 0, yes. So it prints 2, and it comes here, it reduces 2 by 1. Now we have 1, and it checks is 1 greater than 0, yes, it prints num. Next, so that it's now at this level where it's printed 1. Next, it reduces num by 1, and now num is 0. Is 0 greater than 0? It finds no, therefore it doesn't run it. So as soon as the condition becomes false, it even stops running. And therefore we don't see any 0 here. So if I check what num is now, you see that num is 0, so that's why it failed. And that's how the while loop works. Let's look at the basic syntax of a for loop. So we have the for keyword, and here we have any name. So this is a variable that we create. It's any name that we can think of that's appropriate. And then we have the in keyword and iterable. So if you read it in English, it's just like for something in this iterable. And then what we do in the next line, we have to always keep the indentation and then the statements. So we're going to cover the iterables in the future lessons. So here let's just look at some of them. We have strings, which we cover in lesson 9. And then we have files. So when you're reading from a file, you can always have an iterator that you can use for reading a file. And from this lesson, after we complete the for loop, we can actually start handling real world problems. So from lesson 9, we'll start looking at real world examples. So far, we've been looking at toy examples. They help us to understand the concepts. But from lesson 9, we'll start solving real world problems that you might experience in your everyday life, and you can now start applying Python in your daily life. And the next one we're going to look at are this, and we'll look at dictionaries. We're going to look at JSON data in lesson 13. This is similar to dictionaries, so it's a good time to cover JSON data just after dictionaries. And we'll look at sets and tuples and generators in lesson 16. So now it's getting very exciting. Now we can start dealing with our problems that we experience in everyday life. So now let's look at the program. So we have colors. So this is a list. So as you can see, it's plural to suggest that we've got a number of things in there. We have the color red, blue, and white. And here we're not doing anything useful with the colors. We just want to print them out. So we have 4, and here for the name I've picked color. So this can be anything. This can be any name. So here I'm just saying for color in colors, print the color. So what this does is that the first time it will run, it will use red, will be assigned to color, and will print that, so which is the red that we see here. The next time this color will be blue, blue will be assigned to this color, and this will be printed here, and then that's what we see. And finally color will be white, and this will be printed out, and that's the end of the list that we have colors, and the program even terminates after that. That's the end of this video on loops. So far we've covered almost all the important components of programming, and in this case Python programming. We've looked at functions, we've looked at the if statement, and we've looked at loops. These are the 3 main building blocks of a program. What we're going to look at from the next video on are just different ways of representing our data. The way we represent our data actually helps us in the way we solve the problems. So thank you very much. If you have any questions about this video or the videos that we've covered so far, or the lesson, or anything about Python, just put it in the comments below and I'll be sure to answer. Remember to subscribe and to turn on the bell notification so that you can be notified when I upload the next video. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.